the Overman Warrior Podcast.
Hi, it's Rich Hoffman here. The accusations made by the Rooster and Democrats in support of Amy Acton in Ohio. Her race has been in shambles. She's been shown to be a drunk. With police report showing she really doesn't know how to manage her personal affairs when she got into a fight with her husband. And that's the good stuff. She's also the lockdown lady who was the responsible party for most inspiring the nation to lock down their states. And she was one of the worst. And the DeWine administration put her in his administration as health director. And when she had a chance, she really wrecked the state terribly. So she's having a hard time explaining herself. The bedside manner that makes Democrats comfortable and happy isn't working with moderates, independents, and certainly not conservatives. And she's not going to win anybody over in Ohio if she's not going to grab the independents, especially once they know that she's responsible for the wrecked economy. A lot of people are still digging out of. So I was covering this hit piece that the Rooster did on Vivek Ramaswamy, and I thought it was, when you're the front runner, you take your shots, and people do what they do, say what they say, and it usually doesn't stick. But there's another layer to this that I wasn't quite satisfied when I did cover this, because what's different with this accusation against Vivek Ramaswamy, which I completely don't believe, and I'll explain all the reasons why. But because I know a lot of the people involved. And I don't go out and name drop people for the sake of name dropping people and say, hey, look, I know so-and-so. I usually say I know so-and-so because people want to know, well, how can you make this, how can you have an opinion and say something about something as just an independent journalist or just an outsider talking about their comments. Because I often, in the cases of these, I have personal experiences with the subjects I'm talking about, especially when we cover people. And I happen to know Senator Lang very well, like him. He knows it. I think the feeling is very mutual. Outside of politics, that's the first basis of this. But the second part is that this Vivek Ramaswamy story that the Rooster completely come up with, based on innuendo, people that told him things here and there. Do you whisper what people tell you because they might have a personal gripe or a political position they're trying to make? In his case, he wanted some dirt because his candidate Amy Acton has major problems, so they wanted to throw some dirt in Vivek Ramaswamy's in his direction and hope that something stuck. And that's the problem behind this story, because I happen to know the young lady that was accused of having this sexual relationship with Vivek Ramaswamy. And I've known her for a very long time. And when I was first talking about it, it bothers me at a very fundamental level because I know the people and I know how false this is. I was very careful in that first time I spoke about it to keep a level head. And I think it comes out a little cardboardish for me because I actually am trying to contain my extreme anger about the issue. And it's not just because I know Alicia Lang, the person who has been very well placed and works very hard and is very smart and is involved with a lot of top-level political figures. The assumption that just because she traveled with Vivek Ramaswamy, and then there's these rumors that there's booty calls whenever he's in southwestern Ohio, that he visits her, is absolutely insane. And there's the the reason for the anger is that there's something there that we normally don't talk about because you really don't want to hurt people's feelings. So as a gift to myself this year for my birthday, my wife and I are members of the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. And now we've been there a few times, several times. And they have an exhibit, which this is my new favorite garment. When I'm most wanting to think about good things, I wear this shirt, this hoodie. I really like it because it reminds me of the Museum of the Bible. And I really love the Museum of the Bible, and I loved the Dead Sea Scrolls exhibit that they have there, the traveling exhibit straight out of Israel. And I always wanted to see the Dead Sea Scrolls for real. I love the Dead Sea Scrolls. I love the writings that come out of the Second Temple period a lot. And the reason why is there was an exploration of evil that was emerging that is important to literature. And I talk about it extensively in my upcoming book, The Politics of Heaven, which I'm very excited about because it's hard to hit those notes. Dig deep inside yourself and find out, what's really what really makes you tick, what really makes you happy. And then from my perspective, why does it make me happy to go to the Museum of the Bible? And why does it make me happy to know the Dead Sea Scrolls exist? You should have seen me buying gifts from the gift shop on my way out this time because they had all this Dead Sea Scroll stuff, all these Dead Sea Scroll books. And I was absolutely in heaven over the material and the content. And that's where we spent my birthday, is at the Museum of the Bible at the Dead Sea Scroll exhibit. And it was the entire afternoon. And we took our time. We didn't have anything else to do. I didn't answer the phone for 5 or 6 hours. And I just really relished seeing the Dead Sea Scrolls up close. And I read them, studied them, and again, I wrote about them extensively in my book, The Politics of Heaven. But what do I like about them most, and why did I enjoy it, and why is this my favorite shirt these days? Because what was amazing about the emergence of the Dead Sea Scrolls was the philosophy of ethical conduct and righteousness. And I think of the teacher of righteousness most when you think of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and this idea that he led the Essene community who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, led them to a righteous rebellion against the wicked priest of the temple. Stuff you don't really see much in the Bible. You don't get a lot of talk about it. But Jesus Christ was certainly a member of that affiliation out there on the Dead Sea as it migrated outward to communities all around there. Jerusalem's not too far away. Long way to walk, probably over a day's journey by foot. But it was definitely within travel range of Jerusalem, and these rebels out there in the middle of the desert, the town, the city, the establishment of Qumran, where they wrote this apocryphal text and buried these caves to preserve the sentiments of the time. And those sentiments are an exploration into righteousness and how it applies to evil work in the world. And the righteous indignation of people like the teacher of righteousness to make judgment calls that would eventually form the Christian religion. And it's very important, and it's a distinguishing characteristic that gave rise to Western civilization and all the great stuff that came from it. And you see how the world hates it. There's a lot in the world for the same reasons that the Essene community rose up in the first place to establish a philosophy of righteous indignation against the evils of the world. And the Dead Sea Scrolls are filled with such righteous indignation, with judgment over good versus evil. And I think in a lot of ways, even more defined than the Bible is. And I think there's a lot of Dead Sea Scrolls that are validated through biblical text that lasted through over the centuries and millenniums. But then there's also texts that didn't quite make it, like the Book of Giants, the Book of Enoch, the War Scroll, There's the Copper Scroll. There's a lot of good, very adventurous text that came from righteous indignation recorded by the Essenes in the late Second Temple period. And when I think when I do these things, I keep my opinions neutral so much to an extent to try and keep a journalistic hat on. I try to maintain an even keel, but this just story against Vivek Ramaswamy, I think, is it fills me with righteous indignation against the people who came up with it, and I think it deserves an understanding of sexual conduct and what it says about a person. And when you do these kinds of things, I always talk about the kind of people like people in public schools who tend to be liberal and they have reckless sexual lifestyles, and it shows in their conduct. And I always say, and when you study, if you watch YouTube, there's all these people who make good livings chasing down pedophilia. And of course, I've been affiliated with lots of those kinds of stories, and especially in public schools, where righteous indignation is what is needed to set an establishing baseline of morality. And you need that in any kind of healthy culture. And people have been asking me since I said, well, how do you know Vivek Ramaswamy and Alicia Lang didn't have some sort of liaison? Just because the Rooster said so, these are consenting adults. I mean, can't they do that kind of thing? Or aren't they allowed? Everybody does it, don't they? And I have to say, to my experience, no, they don't all do it. And the benefit of me knowing so many people and knowing people up close and knowing people like Alicia Lang, knowing people like Vivek Ramaswamy, casually bump into him here and there. I do have his phone number, but I don't bother him. It's enough that I can say I have enough affiliation to make a judgment call on a person. And what I know to be true about situations like this, when you have someone like the Rooster who has major drug problems or drinking problems, he is a known alcohol abuser. So he can't maintain relationships. He has serious problems, and he really represents a typical Democrat. And those are the kind of people who want Amy Acton, and they want her bedside manner because they make her feel safe in all the ways that people have traditionally found themselves wrapped up in occult practices or unhealthy religions or anti-Christian sentiments. Because they don't like righteous indignation judging their behavior. And knowing the situation and being invited to the Capitol at private events several times, and seeing the Rooster up close and kind of seeing how people work and knowing how lobbyists work the crowd and all that, knowing the situation like I do, I would have no doubt that the Rooster, looking at somebody like Alicia Lang and her friends and people who are well connected and working hard and being at the center of the Supreme Court and Secretary of States and people very high stature, and of course being a part of Vivek Ramaswamy's campaigns and businesses. What I know about people who do those kinds of things or are associated with those kinds of circles is there isn't time to think about a booty call. You have a wife, you have kids, you have a lot of pressures on your time, you're busy becoming very wealthy, and then you're trying to give back and take your good fortune and apply it to a public service, which is what Vivek Ramaswamy is doing. He's out there writing books. For a while, he did like a book a year, and he goes all over the place and talks about them. And honestly, you have to be you have to be a severe lowlife to take advantage of people sexually, take advantage of young, vulnerable people in a sexual way. It's pretty creepy. It's why we look down our noses at it. And especially when you're already committed to people, and if you can't commit to a family relationship, you really can't commit to a public service. So the attack, I think, is completely based on the Rooster's opinions about himself and what he knows about other Democrats and the people he's talking about that are out there doing all these cocaine binges and going to gentlemen's clubs and hanging out with strippers and all kinds of bad people. I know a lot of the people that work at the Ohio State House, and they're not like that. And yeah, there probably are people who are doing that, a fair amount of them who are away from their families, and they tend to be creepy people, corrupt politicians, but they also tend to be Democrats. Republicans that I know are too busy working, making a lot of money because they're productive people, and they don't have time to spend on extramarital relationships. And that's not to say that it doesn't happen, but to my experience, it doesn't happen much, not in those circles. And knowing all those characters, and I know how busy they are, and I know how many conversations I have at 2 o'clock in the morning, and nobody's talking about, hey, I just met this hot girl at Hooters and I slept with her after it closed. Or I was at Twin Peaks with a bunch of my bros and I got the number of a hot 21-year-old. That's not what they talk about. They're like, hey, I got to get this bill across, and who's going to write it, and how are we going to do it, and who can we get to sponsor it? And they are probably obsessed with productive enterprises. And they're also trying to run businesses while they're in politics. And they don't have time for this. And what I can say about Vivek Ramaswamy is he's entirely too smart to get wrapped up in something like that. He's too calculating as a political figure to get wrapped up in something like that, especially watching what Trump's gone through and being close to that. It's not worth it. He's worked too hard to build something to where he's going to be governor of Ohio. And you don't throw that away for some booty call in southwestern Ohio when you're in town. Hey, what's going on? Can I come over? Yeah, I got nothing else going on. Come on over. And then you do the thing, and then it's like, okay, you want to rent a movie? What's on Netflix? And that's all you got going on. But in the Democrat world, that is all they have going on. And they are the kind of evil that is talked about in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the contemplations of righteousness over evil. And when people are so vacant of intelligent thoughts, and this is a major problem, especially these days, and it's purposeful in a lot of ways. And again, I recite the book I just finished writing, The Politics of Heaven, because there's a clear strategy of spiritual warfare that plays out among the living. And that is to dumb down people so they think only with their biological instincts, and that makes them very cruddy people who fall easily to evil. And evil can make a playground out of their minds. And when you break them all down, they tend to be Democrats. And there's an element because this Rooster guy, who's now, I would say the Rooster's pretty cooked. He got himself in a lot of trouble. I don't think he expected the fallout that's coming. I think he's probably mad at the world and mad that he can't take a few more drinks because he's trying to go get clean and he can't maintain any relationships with anybody. And people like Alicia are just too good for him. And he looks at him, he knows George, he's talk friendly to George. But there's a reason why the left hates billionaires. They hate capitalism. They hate judgment. They hate the Bible. That's because they don't want to be judged. I've heard it many times from lots of Democrats. Don't judge. Don't judge. Who are you to judge? Well, we are supposed to judge. And you judge bad behavior. And when you see people who are performing poorly in life, you judge them. And you judge them for all the evil wickedness that they put out. And what I like most about going to see the Museum of the Bible exhibit of the Dead Sea Scrolls was the unfiltered display of righteousness that the Dead Sea Scrolls represent. A lot of them ended up in the Bible text that we know today, but some of my favorite parts of the Dead Sea Scrolls are the writings that were not a part of the biblical text as official apocryphal text that says a lot about the people of the time. And I think it's an awakening of the human race to cast away kingdoms of evil and their servitude to them, and to form an independent rebellion against institutional structures that were tethered to evil. And by what we know of history, this is one of the first times in the history of the world that kind of righteous indignation happened. And the Essenes happened to write it down, put it in some jars, put it in the caves of Qumran. And I was able to go on my birthday to see them. And for a little while, I was able to put everything away, just spend the day with my wife on my birthday at the Museum of the Bible, looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls for hours. And it was one of the happiest days I will probably ever have in my life. And thinking back on it, why was it happy? Because I was removed from people who you put up with all the time, because you're trying to work with them, you try to help them, you try to support them in some way, you try to encourage them. And I spend a lot of time trying to encourage people who probably don't deserve it to be a little bit better people. And maybe if it moves the needle to them wanting to be better that much, is it worth it? Yeah, it is. But it takes a lot out of you. It does. And I gave myself a day with the Dead Sea Scrolls because I wanted to have a day where righteousness was openly embraced. And that happened at the Museum of the Bible. And it's what I love most about this wonderful hoodie. And I wear it whenever I can. It's my favorite around the house kind of outfit. Now, I'm sure I'll have another one in the future. I love my Museum of the Bible hoodie. I wear them, and it makes me think of being a member of that wonderful museum dedicated to some of those important literature, the most important literature that the human race has ever produced. And the essence of it was an understanding of righteousness and a criticism of it unfiltered. And it's lasted through time and many purges. And it lasted because the Essenes were clever enough to hide them in a place where nobody was looking and nobody come to find them. And they lasted through the Crusades, the Roman purges, lots of wars, turbulence of all kinds. And they made it to our eyes and ears. And I was able to go see them in person, right this close to me. And it meant a lot. And as I was thinking about how good that felt, and I was talking about the Rooster's case and trying to stir up some trouble against Vivek Ramaswamy, my anger towards people like the Rooster and people like Amy Acton and Democrats in general, who really, and the person that attacked President Trump the other day at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The reason to dislike them to the level that I would say is to despise them is the judgment that they deserve to be criticized without mercy. In a context that the teacher of righteousness from the Essenes would be fully in support of. And the wicked priest of the temple, I get it, I understand it. There's been a lot of them in the world, and some of that same evil has reared itself up in this attack against Vivek Ramaswamy and a very nice young lady that I know personally, in Alicia Lang. And it's not just because I care a lot about her parents and have for many years, and I've watched her grow up, and I think a lot of her. And do you know everything that goes on when a person's not around you? Yeah, when you get to know people, and I am a very good judge of character, and once you get to know somebody very well, you can tell a lot about what they're going to do when they don't know that nobody's watching and they're not around you. And in the case of people who do valuable things, people who assess value for value's sake, they're not out there thinking about primal stuff like sex all the time. They may enjoy it, they may like it to an extent, but they certainly don't commit themselves to the amount of time it takes to create a relationship with somebody else enough to get them in a state of undress. To build enough trust with somebody else to get them undressed is an investment that intelligent people and Republicans in general, not necessarily rhino Republicans who are really Democrats in disguise, but people who like to make money, who are capitalists, who are conservative in nature and truly believe in church practices and wanting to do right in government for all the right reasons and behold constitutional principles, they tend to be thinking about big things in life and not animal instincts, just eating food and having sex with somebody of the opposite sex. Democrats do that because they are creepy, and they are the reason they don't like Christianity is because Christianity judges people like them to be unrighteous. And the good Christian thing is to give them a seat at the table and forgive them and all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't change how you feel about them. And when you see somebody like the Rooster go out after someone like Alicia Lang and try to hurt George Lang, who's been friendly to the Rooster in lots of ways, passes him in the hall, says nice things, and the Rooster thinks, they're just being nice to me so I don't write bad things about them. But he's really hateful towards everybody who might judge him. And so he wants to beat them to the punch psychologically to judge them first and even print on them his own faults. And that is where evil truly transpires, because not only are you not trying to fix yourself, but you're trying to break other people so you don't feel bad about it. And when they don't give you the benefit of the doubt, or they judge you, or Alicia Lang walks by you in the Capitol and doesn't pay you any attention because you're walking around in clothes that look like you're wearing a sleeping bag, and you just don't, you want to present yourself as a slob to a very dedicated place for legal embodiment of social service, which is what the Capitol is, and why it's a nice setting, why everybody who goes there should be wearing a jacket and a tie or a dress and proper attire, and not just a dress, but a dress that goes over your knees. You go there with respect, you pay reverence to law and order and the people who put those people in place. And people like the Rooster are what make it bad. People like Amy Acton, who solicit the down and out, people who would otherwise be unrighteous people in society, and then try to remove judgment from society so that they can unleash evil upon everybody. And then to say no judgment, no policy judgment on anybody, and anybody who might be in a position to do it, we're going to attack them. And if you give me the cold shoulder, I'm going to attack you too. I don't have any women in my life, and I'm going to attack women who won't give me the time of day or even look at me in the elevator. And I don't like Vivek Ramaswamy because my person, Amy Acton, is losing. So I'm going to make up a story. And it's based on rumors and politics. And the same kind of attack pattern that we saw go after Trump. And none of them's ever stuck because there wasn't any evidence to do it. And there's no evidence here. All these pictures of and these talks and these so-called accusations about booty calls and pictures, they're nowhere. They're not out there anywhere. And if he had them, he would have used them. But instead, he just made it all up so he could make her look bad, hurt her for all his own personal reasons. And I would dare say that because other people aren't creepy, aren't obsessed with sex. There's another aspect to sex too. Sex is, for a lot of people, they're yearning for not being lonely. So there's nothing that you can really do with another human being than to engage in sexual conduct. And so people who are very lonely and yearning for personal fulfillment and the approval of other people find themselves attracted sexually to other people who might give them that mutual benefit of, I trust you, I'm willing to get undressed in front of you and engage in some pleasure-seeking ritual. And it's such a primal thing that some of these people are obsessed over it. And Democrats in general are obsessed with that. So they assume that everybody feels the way they do. And they think that just because a man and a young woman are alone on a jet, along with all kinds of staffers, and President Trump calling Vivek Ramaswamy, hey, what's going on? What's happening with your campaign? Elon Musk is calling him. Hey, what's going on? When are you going to come down and watch this rocket launch? That he's sitting there plotting and scheming to have a sexual relationship where you got to sit and talk for 4 or 5 hours to a woman in her 20s who's there to try and help make the world better because she's interested in politics because her parents are very involved. And she wants to do good things in the world. And I know that for a fact. And I also know from her that she's too smart to throw everything away over silly emotions. People who are smart, intelligent, and tend to find themselves in trusted positions are too smart to give over to animal instincts. They may want to, they may feel the urges, but they don't because they're smart. And that's what it's all about. You fight off those animal instincts. You do like you're supposed to do in Genesis, and you don't listen to the snake. You listen to the call of eternal life, and you have dominion over nature. That means human nature too. You don't yield to your animal instincts. You control them. And when you know truly Republican people who are true conservatives, they are like that all hours of the day, and they're not out there living double lives. And if Democrats could catch them on it more, they certainly would. And when I say I know personal people who are involved in high-level politics, I say it because I know them enough to know that they care about a lot of other things, and there's not room for that kind of stuff in their life because they're too busy saving the world. And that's kind of the difference. That is mainly the difference between those who have righteous indignation and go out and fight for it every day, and those who want no judgment against them and want to attack anybody who might be in a position to make them feel bad about the bad decisions they made in their life. And the Rooster has made a lot of them. And to tear down people who don't deserve it sets a level of anger in me that goes straight to the Dead Sea Scrolls, the wrath of righteousness that deserves to be applied to wicked people. And wicked people are those who are out there trying to tear others down, trying to tear down goodness, and trying to advocate a political party in Democrats that stands for wickedness and evil and an unrighteous approach to law and order and civil discourse. And that's what's at the root of this Rooster article against Vivek Ramaswamy, trying to start a rumor because Vivek's running away from Amy Acton in every single measure that you can have it, and she has nothing in the tank. So the Rooster did a hit piece and completely made it up in the way that a lot of people made up stuff against Trump. And I can say I know that there's lots of stories that have been made up completely. Sometimes they're true. Sometimes people do get themselves involved in trouble, but it always has a way of fleshing itself out. And in this case, knowing the people like I do, and I can say that I do, they are not. They're too busy in life to participate in unrighteous behavior. And I can say that by knowing them up close and personal. And that's what is evil about this whole attack against Vivek Ramaswamy. No, it's not just politics. It's evil in a way that has been applied to those who have applied righteous judgment against the wicked from the beginning of time. And what's wonderful about the Dead Sea Scrolls is that it was recorded in history that was a trajectory the human race would go on and stay on and is still on. And it's up to us now in this modern age to bring forth righteousness against those who evoke evil, and to the point where they need to have their noses rubbed in it in ways that we can make out of them God's footstool. And that's what needs to be said about this attack of accusations of infidelity against Vivek Ramaswamy, who's a really good person, a good family guy, and all the people that are being attempted to be torn down just so Democrats can hope to close the gaps with complete lies and rumors that they have conveniently dusted off to fit their own needs, which is what I think those 10 senators, if they even exist, did to the Rooster in a way to try and undermine the political foothold that George Lang has as the Senate Majority Whip. It always comes back to knocking people out of power who have the power to instill righteousness and good order in a government they're trying to tear down, or sell themselves as lobbyists, or take their $100 bills into the gentleman's club and put them in the G-string or the bikini bottom of some 19-year-old girl while their 47-year-old wife is alone at home waiting for him to come home, watching something on Netflix, hoping that her husband stays true to her, maybe even stays with her long enough for them to grow old together, and maybe for him to stop cheating on her all the time. And the kind of people I'm thinking of specifically are Democrats who do that all the time, and they hope that they can turn the lights out on their wicked ways and nobody will notice. And one of the ways they do it is by trying to dirty up those who are best positioned to cast judgment against them. People like Senator Lang, and bringing his daughter into it to try and bring down the Vivek Ramaswamy campaign, and in an underhanded way, harm Trump, because Vivek Ramaswamy is Trump's pick. So, righteous indignation is a great thing to have and do, and I like it so much that that's what I gave myself for my birthday. 4 or 5 hours at the Museum of the Bible with the Dead Sea Scrolls, and enjoying the unfiltered sentiments of justice and righteousness applied to a wicked world full of people who needed to be eradicated for their detriments to social order. And that's what we're fighting here. Anyways, Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you haven't read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you'll love it. Anyway, have a good day. See you later.
Thank you for listening. Coming soon, The Politics of Heaven in 2027. A treasure hunt through heaven and all human history.